You are on the platform, the non-taxpayer-funded new netcasting new media outfit that more and more of you are listening. I just want to say, folks, we hit 40,000 YouTube subscribers last night. I think that's more. We're already more than Stuff. I think that's now more than the spin-off, which is good news for us. And we do that by talking about issues. One issue that has arisen this week is an editorial published in the Herald behind their paywall, strangely enough, and written or co-penned by two most unlikely people I find unlikely bedfellows. Former Prime Minister Helen and former National Party leader, I think ACT Party leader, and leader of Hobson's Pledge, Dr. Don Brash. And they both argue in this article that New Zealand appears to have made a shift in its foreign policy focus and approach and is in danger, they say it is a danger of losing its independence in matters of foreign policy. As I said, I was surprised to see those two people singing from the same hymn book, and I thought, given the heft and weight of those people by reputation, it would only be fair to give the government, in the form of the Foreign Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Winston Peters, a chance to respond. And joining us now, and I must say the quality of the setup of the video link we have with Mr. Peters has been improving every time of late, and that is one of the baubles of office. Mr. Peters, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning.
Not at all, mate. Look, for goodness sake, you know what a bauble is? I said it years ago, and the media have a terrible infliction to think they know language when many of them don't. A bauble is a trinket not worth having.
Yes.
If they could only get their head around that, then they would not be misreporting what I said.
Okay, there endeth the lesson for me. Thank you very much indeed, Minister. Minister, are we moving away from what is or might be perceived by some as an independent foreign policy?
Well, that Brash article was brought to my attention, and I thought, this is really astonishing. You know, people should know their limitations. They've long not been in politics. They've long not been involved with the type of internal and external briefings internationally and locally that we get. The depth of information coming to you is different. And they would have known when they said that hang on, what did Hipkins say about AUKUS when he was the Prime Minister? What did Anna Little say about it when he was the Minister of Defence? They were saying all those things that we are saying now, but all of a sudden, because we're saying it, they decided to come out of left field and make a statement now, make it very clear. Helen Clark was famous for having said that we live in a benign strategic environment. Now, if anybody thinks that, then they just don't know what's going on. They simply haven't got a grip of what's going on. And then, of course, in 2005, in the campaign when she was being opposed by Don Brash as leader of the National Party, she said that Don Brash knew nothing about foreign affairs. Now, I rest my case, basically, because you've got people intervening, telling people on the ground, being updated every day with the best we've got in this country and internationally, that we're literally endangering this country's independent policy. They didn't even notice the fact that within a very short time of getting my job, I set out in a speech that we were always going to have an independent foreign policy.
So you would reject the allegation that we're in danger of losing the perception of being independent on foreign policy?
Well, exactly, I'd reject that, because I would say then, but what are we saying? What was, the Minister of Defence now, Judith Collins, saying that was different to what was being said by Andrew Little just 3 months ago? And please don't come along here and think that you're alerting people to something that is of alarm to you when it's a fake alarm, because you have got no substance in what you're saying.
Mr. Peters, the other thing is I would make the observation that on matters that are happening internationally, issues like the conflict in Gaza and the occupied territories, this government seems to come out, and you come out as the minister, and state its position quite quickly, quite unambiguously. We see it on social media. We seem to know very quickly where we stand on things. Is that a deliberate policy? Often we would wait days, or we get ambiguous messages from Nanaia Mahuta. It seems to me we have a much clearer direction or idea of where we are on any given issue.
Let me tell you, much of the mainstream media in this country of ours is a disgrace. There was a huge vacuum that I inherited in 2023 at the end of the year. It was clear as daylight. There were so many ambassadorships and jobs and appointments that hadn't been made. I mean, you will not believe how many were installed, waiting to go, and I had to deal with that. And then there were all international contacts, none of which were made. And then we had an international group of diplomats and high commissioners, but diplomats from all around the world in New Zealand who had never, ever had a chance to have a long conversation with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. All this was known by the mainstream media. And my disgust is that this huge vacuum that we inherited went unreported. This is just something that's unforgivable. It's an important job. And yes, we have been working flat out. And very shortly, we'll have contacted nearly every person, foreign ministers from Egypt to the parts of Africa, all around South America, everywhere, to try and make sure we're part of the dialogue and we're in sync with them on matters like Gaza, to ensure that this appalling crisis stops. But we have to have a long-term, permanent ceasefire. That's what we need now.
Final question, what would you say to Don Brash about his article about independent foreign policy? Because we're talking to him in 5 or 10 minutes.
I'd say to Mr. Brash, why did you sign up to do a joint article with someone who told you in 2005, in that campaign, and all the evidence is there, that you don't know enough about foreign policy?
Okay.
Leave it at that.